It's the offseason, but teams are still hard at work trying to comprise the best team with a chance to get the NBA championship next season. I want to look at the Eastern Conference to see the moves they've been making and comprise a list of the top 10 teams going into next season. There'll be a lot of disagreements, but that's the fun of it. If I say something you don't agree with, feel free to put it in the comments. I start a conversation. Tell me where you think I went wrong and try to make a better list than me. I want us to get right into it. So let's start with number 10. I'm gonna say the Chicago Bulls. Now, this might sound crazy. The Bulls have been a non-factor in the Eastern Conference for a couple of years now, but they have a core unit that's starting to pick up the pace, pick up momentum, and have a little experience playing with each other. And it's starting to look really good. In the last 20 games last season, the Bulls went 14-6. That all starts with Josh Giddey being the point. The Giddey Bulls, that's as I call them. They're starting to come together. You have Josh Giddey as the 1, Kobe White at the 2, Dosunmu at the 3, Matas Buzelis at the 4, and Nikola Vucevic at the 5. And they've picked up interesting pieces for the bench like Trey Jones, Kevin Huerter, Isaac Okoro. So they have a pretty deep team that can guard at the wings and shoot. Like I said, they went 14-6 in the last 20 games of the last season. I'm really big on Matas Buzelis and how he's gonna develop a 6'10" power forward who can guard, shoot, drive, dunk, all that. Josh Giddey's becoming a very, very valuable point guard in the league. He's averaging 7.2 assists a game last year, so he's gonna have another year to develop, another option to develop that. And I just feel like he has enough pieces that he can distribute the ball and they can really start building something here in Chicago for the first time in a couple of years. But this new, younger core can definitely make something happen. I say at the lowest, they'll be a 10th seed, and if all things click for the Bulls, they could even go up to be a 7th seed. I don't think they're gonna make much of a splash in the playoffs. If they do make the playoffs, they'll be a first round exit, but just making the playoffs is impressive enough for this Bulls team. At number 9, I'm about to go with the Boston Celtics. They've been making some pretty interesting trades in the offseason. They just picked up Chris Boucher from the Raptors. They have Anthony Simons. They dropped Drew Holiday. They dropped Porzingis. And as you know, Jason Tatum's out for the year. So that's why I put them pretty low compared to how they've been last year. I really feel like just dropping 3 of the starters that led them to the championship run is just going to be a big difference. They're way smaller, way less defensively gifted than they were last year. Now you have Anthony Simons, who's not really known as a defender, but he's athletic. So with the right coaching, and like we know, Joe Mazzulla is a good coach, the Celtics are still going to play good team defense, which is why I still think they're in the playoff running. They're well coached on defense and offense, and they're going to play the numbers game. They're going to shoot a lot of threes. And on their best nights, they're going to be able to compete with any team. But I feel like just consistently not having JT is just going to sell them, and their ceiling just thoroughly diminished from last year. It's just they're losing a lot of that depth. Looking at their new starting lineup, I'm just not bullish on it. They have Kata as the 5. Like I said, they just picked up Chris Boucher. I have a feeling that he's going to be starting as the number 4. I don't really like having Sam Hauser start as the number 4. Derek White, Simons, Brown, Boucher, Neemias Queta. It's just not a lot of high-end names that are really going to win a lot of games on their own, but they're going to be well coached. I feel like the biggest thing that's going to determine the Celtics season is Jaylen Brown and how he's going to be able to develop as a playmaker. I feel like in the past, he already knew he had a lot of playmaking around him. So when he got the ball, his number 1 priority was to score the ball, spread the space, score the ball. He would either take the shot, get into his dribble work, and find a shot that he likes, or go into the rack. And if it doesn't work out at the rack and he's facing a lot of heavy defense at the rack, that's when he'll pass it out. But now I'm looking for Jaylen Brown to make early passes and really get the offense flowing. And with him being, if not the primary ball handler, the second primary ball handler, that's what he's going to set the ceiling for the Boston Celtics. So we're going to see how Jaylen Brown is going to be able to develop into that role. If the Celtics aren't the 9th, the lowest they can see them, I don't see them falling out of the play-ins, and the highest I'll see them is maybe like the 6th to the 7th seed. Nothing higher than that. At number 8, I'm about to go with the Milwaukee Bucks. They have made some very interesting moves this offseason by waiving Damian Lillard. I mean, Damian Lillard was out for a majority of next season, or all next season, and signing Miles Turner to be their 5. And I actually really like this trade because now they just give himself a younger Brook Lopez. So we already know how devious the Twin Towers setup could be with Giannis at your 4, and then a big 5 that can shoot, spread through the court, stretch the court for Giannis, make it easier for Giannis to operate, and also be a very good rim protector. So Miles Turner is going to have a big role into Milwaukee Bucks. I think he's going to be the second most important player. He's definitely going to have more offensive touches than he did in Indiana. They're going to play through him a lot more. But I'm looking through the rest of the roster, and it's just not anything that really makes me jump out of my seat and be like, wow, this team is amazing. They have Kevin Porter Jr. starting at the 1, Gary Trent Jr. at the 2, and Kyle Kuzma at 3. Kevin Porter Jr., he's confident, he's bouncy, he's young. Once he came through his little dilemma, he came back looking pretty good in Milwaukee. So I say he's a 15, maybe to 20 point per game scorer. It's just the defense is the main thing I'm looking at in the starting lineup. Gary Trent's pretty good 3 and D, but Kyle Kuzma's never been a highly touted defensive player, and we see how he can really fade away in the playoffs. I mean, last year was his first playoff experience in a while because he was not getting any playoff time in Washington, but he dropped a big goose egg game. Pretty sure it's game 1, all zeros. He was out there running cardio, out there having a good time, just there for the vibes. Just didn't really add anything to the team. So I'm interested to see how a whole offseason, a whole training camp with Kuzma is going to get him implemented into the team, and so he can find better ways to work off of Giannis. When you have the best player in the Eastern Conference, you have to find a way to get open and have a lot of space for you to operate. And there's just no way he can have another repeat season or repeat playoff run like that. They did also get Cole Anthony from Magic, which is interesting. He's going to be a good little playmaker, good spark plug, energy plug. But like I said, that's not anyone to really change the tides of the sea and make them better. AJ Green's a good shooter. Prince, Bobby Portis, all good players. Andre Jackson, which is one of the more noticeable pieces that I'm looking at. I just like my long defenders. He's going to play a big role this year. But the Bucks are going to go as far as Giannis can take them. But I don't know. I'm just not too hyped about them. Like, mind you, this might be a vicious underrated. They might be anywhere from the 3rd seed because, like I said, you put a little huge shooting and defense around Giannis, you have a team and you have a chance to compete. So this might be viciously low. So I'm saying anywhere from 8 to 3rd, but I'm more strongly put them at 8s. At number 7, I'm about to go with the Miami Heat. I am keen. I like this roster they got going on. I think they bounced back from the Jimmy Butler trade quite nicely. With a whole offseason with this roster, they comprise of Tyler Hero, Norman Powell, Andrew Wiggins, Bam Adebayo, and Kel'el Ware, with Davion Mitchell off the bench, Jaime Jaquez Jr., Nikola Jovic, Haywood Highsmith. They got some Fontecchio. They got some cooking up in Miami. Slowly and surely, they always have one of the best coaches every year. The Heat coach is always going to be a real thing. But they have some depth, and they have some skill, and they have some talent. Tyler Hero is growing as a playmaker, elite shooter, one of the best shooters in the league, but now he's adding a playmaking bag. So that's going to be real impressive. Norman Powell just came off a career season, averaging 21.8 points as a Clipper. He had a 41.8 3-point percentage, 48.4% from the field. Norman Powell had a resurgence of a season last year. It was unbelievable. And the Heat are very excited to get him. Just the way he's going to be implemented in the Heat, the way he's going to spread the court and play games and be healthy, because Terry Rozier has just not been healthy for them enough to really provide anything. It's just Norman Powell is just going to add a 3-level scorer. They have Andrew Wiggins, a champion in Golden State. We know how important he was to that run. Him getting a whole offseason with this team. Bam Adebayo being able to move to the 4. And Kel'el Ware might be the glue, the special glue, the special white sticky glue that sticks this team together, because I'm just really big on my unicorns. I just like the lanky 7-footers that can do anything, and he shows a lot of promise, especially in the summer league. So for him to really develop into a two-way player, offensive player, and get the ball and get a buck when the Heat need it, and be an elite defender at the rim, that's gonna help them. They are a pretty deep team that on paper it looks like they're going to be able to perform on both sides of the ball at a high level. So I put them at 7, but I say I can see them all the way up to 5th. Maybe 7th to 5th, they might make a playoff run. If they get to the playoffs with the Heat coach, you might see Miami back into the second round of the playoffs. I think they're looking good. That's it for number 7. Now for number 6, Atlanta Hawks. They are long. They are lane. They are athletic. They get up and down both sides of the court very quickly. Trae Young, he's smart, but he's been a prolific scorer since he entered the league. One of the top passers in the league, farthest jump shots, Florida games elite. We know all that. They just picked up Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who just came from the Western Conference Finals. You have Dyson Daniel, the Great Barrier Thief, as they call him. Jalen Johnson. They just picked up Kristaps Porzingis, and you have Zachary Arishasay. They just picked up a 6'10" power forward in Asel Newell. Yeah. They got shooters like Luke Kennard. Yeah. Be careful with Atlanta. I like what they're building here. They have a chance to have one of the top 5 defenses in the league. With this roster, they stay healthy. And with Trae Young operating the offense, pushing the pace, just getting a lot of buckets in the transition. Their defense is going to be elite. I think Atlanta is going to be a sleeper. If you're not at least thinking about Atlanta Hawks as a contender in the East next year, you're kind of missing out. You're not really thinking deep enough. I am keen on Atlanta. I put them at 6, but I would not be overly surprised if we seen Atlanta all the way up to 3rd. Imagine Dyson Daniel, Jalen Johnson, and Zachary Richardson all take another step, improve their game on the offensive side, and understand the defensive side of the ball even better, understanding what they need to do to lead to winning games. Nah. This is a team I am fond of. They're doing great things down in Atlanta. Now for this next one, I almost feel icky saying it. Like, I almost feel gross. And I know if I'm going to get hate, it's going to be with this take. For number 5, I'm going to Philadelphia 76ers. I think no way on God's green earth can they repeat that abomination of a season that they had last. One thing that I'm really looking forward to is Joel Embiid and what he's been up to this offseason and how that's going to translate into regular season. Unlike last year, he's not playing in the Olympics. He's not getting married. He's not doing all this, extracurricular things to the red, white, and blue of Philadelphia. He's in Philadelphia, training, rehabilitating, resting, doing whatever he can to get his knees and his body back into shape. He's not rushing it. He's grown to a point where he understands what he has to do to get his body healthy. And now we can talk about the youngin. I'm very excited to see how VJ Edgecombe is about to join this team. I'm interested to see how Johnny Broom's going to look too. A strong rookie big that can shoot and pass the ball so he can stretch the court, which is something that Sixers did not have in the second unit as a center before. They've had like Andre Drummond and Paul Reed in recent years. Now you have Johnny Broom, a Dem Bono who's grown to a beast. Not a shooter, but a beast. VJ Edgecombe, who's talked about very impressive goals like Defensive Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year. He is hungry. He's athletic. He can shoot. And one thing I like about him is his playmaking. I would not be surprised if later in the year or years in, where they move VJ Edgecombe to the 1 and put Tyrese Maxey back to the 2. I like Tyrese Maxey scoring, but he can pass too. So I'll be interested to see how they are gonna, mesh those minutes. Also with the Jared McCain and how he's gonna look after an injury, if he's ever gonna, reach the amazing start he had in his career, or if he's gonna be hampered already in his career. Quentin Grimes, who had a crazy end of the season run with the 76ers. I like to see how he's gonna, coexist with Embiid, Maxey. There's one name I have not said yet, and that is Paul George. Now, Paul George, there's more questions about Paul George than like any other player in the league, so honestly, at this point. Because Paul George, there's two levels to this equation. Not only does Paul George need to get healthy and stay healthy, he's gonna have to not be dog watering while he's on the court. Can you do that for me, Paul George? Can you do both of those things? Paul George can give me 20 points per game and play 60 games and defend. 76ers are a threat. They're young. They have an elite ceiling. They have a big 3 that on paper is perfect. A guard, a forward, a center. They just gotta find a way to mesh it all together. I'm gonna put them in a calm 5. But I'm gonna say this. Best comes to best with the 76ers and they have the dream season that they were hoping to have last year, they can be as high as third or second. I'm not going to say first, that's fanboying. I'm going to say third or second. At number 4, the Detroit Pistons. Now, the Pistons went from literally the worst team in NBA history to a very competent 6th seed in just one season. Their young core, their potential is through the roof. Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey was coming back from injury. Asar Thompson, one of the most athletic people in the league, amazing defender. If he can get a shot like his brother, he's going to be elite on both sides of the ball. Jalen Duren, Marcus Sasser, Ron Holland II. They have young players for days. They have some veteran help like Tobias Harris. They did lose 2 of the most elite shooters in the league, and that's Tim Hardaway Jr., who went to Denver, and Malik Beasley, who's facing some controversy right now, gambling or doing something nonsense. It's still in the air that he might come back and play, but right now it's 50-50. We don't know what's going on with Malik Beasley. This young core, though, they have more to show. Cade Cunningham made his first All-Star appearance. Asar Thompson, like I said, just an amazing wing defender. Jalen Duren, who's just a beast, the dog. Isaiah Stewart, who's also a dog. They're going to be hungry. They learn how to play together. They learn how to win. And we know that Cade Cunningham is going to lead the team. And this team goes as far as Cade goes. And Cade goes far. And these young Bucks are right there with him. They picked up Duncan Robinson from the Heat, which is a great shooter. Might be a little bit of a defensive fallback compared to Malik Beasley and Tim Hardaway, but that's calm. Karis LeVert, who can also shoot, but he can also be a better playmaker and ball handler, so that's going to help and add more dimensions to this team. The Pistons are going to be nice. They're going to be probably better than the 6th seed. I have them at 4, but I can see them anywhere from like top 3 to like 5. I don't think they're going to be any lower than 5. Next, at number 3, the Orlando Magic. I think they made one of the best offseason moves in the league. A team that's been, in the last couple of years, poor at shooting, that being their biggest deficiency. To get a career 40% three-point shooter, a 20 points per game player, someone who can handle the ball, 6'5", defend. Yeah, that's going to go a long way for them. Their starting 5 right now is big. The smallest player is 6'5", and that's Bane and Jalen Suggs at 6'5". 6'10", Banchero, Wagner, and Wendell Carter Jr. Yeah, they're big. Yeah, big defenders coming off the bench. Jonathan Isaac, Mo Wagner, Goga Batadze. They're going to be one of the best defensive teams in the league this season. They are going to be hard to score on. They're going to be physical. They're going to hurt to play against. And they have elite scorers that are developing. Like I said, Suggs was nice before he got hurt. Let's not forget Suggs. Desmond Bane, 20-point per game scorer. Wagner, Banchero, who might become one of the best duos in the league. They both had their own times to shine last season, but they both got hurt. So they couldn't really click it all together and find a whole season playing together. So if they can do that this season, that'll go a long way for them. But if Orlando get anything lower than the 3rd seed, that's a disappointment. At this point, for 3-2-1, if you're not getting at least the 3rd seed, I'd say it was a disappointing season. I feel like everything's pointing to these teams having dominant seasons. So, with that being said, Orlando Magic at my 3. At my number 2, New York Knicks. Now, the biggest thing they did this offseason was getting a coaching change. I think Mike Brown as the head coach is going to do wonders for the team. When you have Iron Man, the player who has seldom missed a game since he entered the league, Mikal Bridges, complaining about the minutes, you know you have got a problem. And Tom Thibodeau is a coach that historically has overplayed players. This is a team that lost to the same team 2 years in a row in the playoffs. One that made it to the finals. And they lost not because of high-end talent. I mean, the Knicks have 2 players that started in the All-Star game. The reason is this ideology. Just running these players into the ground was just not good for them. They always made it to the playoffs. 50-game win seasons, last 2 seasons. But they make it to the playoffs, and they have no more guys. They get hurt. They just fall off, they lose to a team with a lot of health and a lot of versatility, and that was the Indiana Pacers. So you add Jordan Clarkson, you add Guerschon Yabusele, which gives you depth, because Jordan Clarkson is a guard that can shoot, play make, handle. So that's a good second playmaker after Jalen Brunson. You have Guerschon Yabusele, who's a big body, can play the 4, can play the 3, can shoot the ball, stretch the court, which is good, real good. They have Miles McBride, obviously is a good shooter. He's developing his playmaking. So the biggest thing is just staying healthy. And I want to see how much of this Jalen Brunson, Karl-Anthony Towns two-man game, how much that can develop. Because they had the best two-man game last season. I want to see how they can get Mikal Bridges to get even another level as a New York Knicks. I'm just excited to see how this Mike Brown Knicks is going to look. He's a great coach. Not to say that Tom Thibodeau wasn't a great coach on the offensive and defensive sense. They are going to have a well-run offense and a well-run defense and just the less minutes to give the other bench time to develop and give the starters time to heal up, rest, and carry on with the season. If Knicks are not at least top 3, it was a disappointing season. They failed, and I would probably point it to Mike Brown because they got 50 wins last 2 seasons, so if something happens, I don't know. They have Mitchell Robinson, which is a beast when he's healthy. Great interior defense, great pick and roller. The Knicks have a lot to work with. They have a lot of high-end talent. They should at least be a top 3 seed. If not, it's a failure. And last but surely not least, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, what happened to them in the playoffs was unfortunate. They faced Indiana Pacers at the peak of their voodoo, at the peak of their black magic, at the peak of their religious belief. I mean, everything was just going right for the Pacers. But that does not take away from the 64-win season that the Cleveland Cavaliers had last season. That does not take away from the elite talent they have with Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, the Defensive Player of the Year, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, Max Strus. This is the first season they're going to have DeAndre Hunter for a whole off-season, a whole training camp, so we're going to see how he can develop. They have Lonzo Ball, who's hungry to make a name for himself again after being hurt for a couple years. He's a big guard that can pass, shoot, drive, so that's going to be big. They have a lot of players that they know how to win with this team. I want to see the steps that Evan Mobley's going to make again, because he went from pretty good to one of the best bigs in the league. I want to see the steps that Jared Allen can take again. I want to see Darius Garland stay healthy for a season again and keep that health in the postseason, because Darius Garland, I'll have to admit, I was not keen on him 2 years ago. I just seen him play a couple of games. I thought he was like out of control, wobbly. It would look like out of control, and then out of nowhere he'd make a nonsense shot, and then it would go in sometimes. But last season, I seen Darius Garland cook on defense from the beginning of the shot clock to the end. Clutch threes. Just clutch. Just a great player. Like, I'm very keen on Darius Garland after last season. I like the growth that I've seen from him. Donovan Mitchell has been one of my favorite players since the Utah Jazz days. He's elite. He's going to give you 30, 25, 35. We know what Donovan Mitchell does. Spider's going to dunk on your head. He's going to put threes up, and the threes are going to go in. He's going to slash. He's going to pass. He's going to dash. Donovan Mitchell is a beast. All that. This is a good team from start to finish, from top to bottom. And it's just a hurt that they have to be a 64-win team and have another team in the West that's competing with you as the top team in the league. You guys are both looking like it's set in stone that Cavs, Thunder are going to play in the playoffs, and you're a second-round exit. So I know they took that personally. So I know they're going to have a big offseason and come back even more aggressive, more prolific, more hungry, smarter, all that. So anything less than first, maybe second, because East got some hidden gems. I believe they should be the first seed again, because they were the first seed by at least like 13, 12 games last season. I don't think it's going to be that big of a margin this season, because I think now when teams go to Cleveland or have Cleveland come to you, they're going to really, really be ready in the regular season. So that's going to be interesting to see. But I think Cleveland is the #1 team to look out for, the #1 power ranked team in the East going into next season. And that's my list, y'all. Thank you for those who watched. Thank you for those who stuck to the end. Share, like, comment. Tell me what you think about this list. Tell me anything you disagreed with, agreed with. Tell me what you want to see more. Tell me what you want to see in the next video. I really want to do better for you guys as a community, for the people who subscribe, for the people that put their faith in me to, give you content, and for myself to drop more. I've been a little too idle for my own liking. I gotta remember, bro, that this is the future for real. This is what I got going on. I'm a journalist, so I want to keep being a journalist. I want to get my name out there, show that I know basketball, make content for you. So I'm gonna do my best. Not even going to my best. My new thing, I want to drop 2 videos a week, because you guys deserve that. The basketball world needs that, and I needs that. We all needs it, honestly. So thank you. Like I said, like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for all the people joining in. It's all love here in JC Hoops 24. You feel me? It's only up from here. I hope y'all have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you in the next one. Oh, boom.